Hello, friends. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, do us a big favor. Smash that subscribe button below. Leave a like. Leave a comment. Tell us what you think. Benny, where can they find us on social media?
Yeah, you can find us, Ray Benny Sports. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and of course, your favorite, TikTok.
Good old TikTok. We got the CFL Grey Cup, or as Benny likes to call it, the CFL Final. We're going to talk a little bit about the environment in the stadium in the Western Final. We got some NFL action to talk about. We got the Power Five. We're going to talk about our Winnipeg Jets, the games coming up this week. And of course, we got our shout out. So let's start with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Both you and I were at IG Field behind you on a nicer day than a year ago in the Western Final. Then your thoughts on the good times happening at IG Field and the fun that we had.
Yeah, what an amazing atmosphere. Like, that place was loud. Like, it was crazy loud. Like, last year was loud, but to me this year, I don't know, it seemed crazier. It seemed louder in there. Like, my ears were ringing. Fantastic atmosphere. Like BC came out and said, that crowd was crazy. The Bombers have come out and said it. That crowd, having that crowd behind us was huge, right? You saw it in the last drive of the game that BC had a minute and a half or whatever it was. And usually that's an eternity in the CFL.
Yeah.
Right? They got off 3 plays because they couldn't communicate. So what an amazing atmosphere, man.
You talk about the atmosphere, and I'll talk about like a little bit of a turning point in the game when Janarian Grant returned that touchdown with 10 minutes left in the half. That was like, it was so loud in that stadium. I was walking downstairs to go to the washroom. And I see this guy break down the sideline, then break back in the middle. I'm like, oh, I'm going to ring this cowbell. And that's so loud that the stadium, the energy after that point, it just stayed up in the air the whole time. It was crazy. And that return was crazy.
Yeah, well, like you say, it was, the buzz was there after the Bombers scored that quick touchdown, right? And then, they stopped BC, the roughing the kicker play as well, that I guess ends up being the right call after all, apparently.
The rule book, I guess.
Yeah. But, if that doesn't get called, or if it's a clean block, that place was buzzing. But then, BC gets that touchdown going through Janarian Grant's legs off the punt, and it's like, wow. This game has turned, and it got quiet in there. And like you say, until Grant returned that punt, which is freaking amazing, until he returned that punt, that crowd got right back into it again and never let up for the rest of the game.
There was a buzz, like you say. It was electric. And another huge play I remember is when Willie Jefferson stripped that ball. And again, the momentum just shifted, and you can feel the energy in the crowd, and we got louder and louder. Like, that's probably one of the loudest I've ever been in that place, including last year.
Yeah. I think last year we were way too cold. I don't know, but there was less to celebrate last year. I mean, in a way, right? Because throughout the game, the Bombers were making tons of mistakes, and it got loud last year when they took the lead finally against Saskatchewan. But then Saskatchewan got that quick touchdown back, and it died right there, right? This one in BC, once that Grant return, they got that. The crowd was just buzzing the rest of the game, and made it tough on BC to get plays down in and execute.
And it wasn't really a close game after that, to be honest with you. They were in control, and there was that Prukop touchdown that he dove in from the 1 or the 2 or whatever. It was one of those drives where they just beat the heck out of BC. Rashid Bailey had a great catch on the sideline with a forearm to a guy's face. Nick Dembski ran the ball up the middle, and they just took BC's heart at that point. And you can see it. You can see. And
Oliveira, man, what a game!
Yeah,
he was just pounding that rock in the fourth and made BC pay for it.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for the 2 missed converts and that convert return, I mean, the game got closer just to that. There's 4 points right there that go to, that makes that gap so much bigger for the Bombers. That last drive doesn't even become a worry, So
absolutely.
It's like the Bombers just like to keep things close, keep our hearts a little bit beating throughout the game, not to celebrate. We even had Sweet Caroline going too early. I'm like, this is too early for this.
Not everyone was singing. We're like, whoa. No. Yeah, I agree. It was funny. I was online checking out BC Lions, their Wikipedia page, because I wanted to see how many Grey Cups they had. And then they had a new owner, Brady Oliveira. I'm like, this is good. Whoever just edited that, it wasn't me.
Yeah, I love those.
Like Shaggy would say, it won me.
Yeah.
But that was great to see. So let's talk about the Grey Cup. The Bombers going for a three-peat. The chance at cementing their destiny. And like we were talking earlier before we started, it's not that the chance for destiny is over. If they win another championship next year, it's still a destiny. Dynasty. But yeah, this is a big game for both teams. Oh, it's a Grey Cup. So
yeah. Last game of the year, it's a big one. And a great storyline too. I mean, you got Andrew Harris who helped bring that 2019 championship and who was great last year in the championship too, is going to try and stop this dynasty from kind of happening, or the three-peat from happening, right? And it's huge. And he wants that, and he can feel that. So it's going to be a big battle. Bombers, of course, are going to have to worry about Harris and stop that run game. The one game they played earlier this year, Harris was feeling it in that game.
Yeah, early.
Yeah, so he's going to come out pumped, and it's going to be a great game. But
absolutely,
I still think that Bomber D is going to do enough to disrupt that Toronto offense.
Yeah, you talk about Andrew Harris in the storyline. Another storyline with Andrew Harris is, I know these players don't play against each other. It's like Tom Brady against Peyton Manning. Yeah, they don't play against each other, but still, Andrew Harris and Brady Oliveira, the teacher versus the student. Both. When's the last time in a Grey Cup that both running backs were Canadian and from the same city?
Yeah, no doubt, from Winnipeg too.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So like you said, I think the Bombers will disrupt that, but they do have to shut down that running game, and they do have to really penetrate that D line. So they get in three last names, McLeod Bethel Thomas's face, because the Bombers, I think, were second last in regards to sacks they got, but when you have Jefferson and Jeffcoat just creating havoc on the line, we saw what happened last week.
Yeah.
No chance for Rourke to get anything going. So that has to happen this week.
Yeah, and McLeod Bethel Thompson came out pretty clean. I don't think the Owls ended up with a sack at all last week. Mm-hmm. So that O-line for Toronto did a pretty good job. The run game was buzzing. And that's one thing BC couldn't get going against Bombers at all, like the run game. Butler was non-existent basically, and BC basically quit trying to run it. So Toronto needs to establish that. It's going to be in Saskatchewan, so it's outdoors. It's going to be cold. You need that run game.
Yeah.
Like we saw Claro. See, I mean, he didn't break 200 yards, but he had that run game, which went for over 100. So you need that in these elements, especially, you never know, it could be snow. And Harris is used to that. So that gives Toronto a bit, not an advantage or an edge or anything, but more than BC had, kind of thing,
Yeah. So, and in addition to the elements, you have Caleros with a bad ankle.
Yeah.
It sounds like he'll play. O'Shea says he'll play, whether that's strategy or whatever, who knows? But he doesn't have a 100% ankle, that's for sure. Not practicing on the first day. So that running game and shifts on the line. Buck Pierce is going to have a very genius game on this one. And the Bomber O-line will have to show up.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and you go back to Toronto's D. I mean, Harris ended up putting over 300 yards, Stanback had over yards rushing. So they came back down to earth a little bit, and they've been pretty solid this season, but they got exposed a little bit there. So maybe Pierce can pick some stuff out of that game and see what Montreal did well, right?
Yeah.
But the Bomber D is going to be in tough. Curly Gittins had a wicked game last week. You're going to need to stop him. So you're not only worrying about Harris and Ouellette, who also had a decent game last week on some screen passes, but you got Curly Gittins and you got some other good receivers there in Toronto. So it'll be tough, and they have to get either to McLeod Bethel Thompson sacks or pressures, at least make a move around that pocket. He's not very good once he starts running around and tries to throw on the run.
Yeah, let's go back to Buck Pierce. I think he really needs to drop a good game plan here. He really has to cause some confusion on the line. I really wanted to see Nick Dembski with the ball in his hands a little more last game. They won, so shut up, Ray. But going into this game, I still would love to see Dembski getting the ball more on different looks, on different plays, jet sweeps, draws through the middle, down the sideline. I think he could really do some damage and open up the Argos' tough secondary, because they have a darn good secondary in Toronto.
Yeah.
But we have some good receivers.
They do. And like the receivers for the Bombers last week didn't have to do a lot, right?
Yeah.
Dalton Schoen had that touchdown, but other than that, there wasn't many yards there at all. So yeah, I do agree. Get Dembski involved, get Ellingson involved too a little bit,
Absolutely.
So you're going to have to spread that ball. Claros wasn't great last week, but he got the job done. Hopefully his ankle is okay going into this game, but yeah, start spreading that ball around, and that will open things up. Cause I think Toronto's is probably going to try and focus on stopping that run, especially if the weather's not great. Right. So you got to use your guys, and they got a lot of great receivers there.
I don't know how much Toronto can focus on the run, though. Like if they stack the box, when you have receivers like Ellingson, Wolatarski, Dembski, Rasheed Bailey, and Dalton Schoen, you're going to have to spread it no matter what. But like we said, that secondary in Toronto is one of the top 3 in the league for sure.
Yeah, and that's where maybe the Bombers are the weakest. They're secondary, right? So you need Jeff
good last week.
They did, for sure.
Looked great. They had 3 dropped interceptions within the first 2 quarters.
Yeah.
So
Rourke still ended up with 300 yards, but a lot of that was late. And the Bombers
always give up big yards, though. I think they're like top 2 in how many yards they've given up and how many passing attempts they've given up. But also because they're in the lead and people just have to chuck.
Well, yeah, and the Rourke was out of rhythm all game. So if you can do that to McLeod Bethel-Thompson, you're ahead of the battle.
Something about a Richie Hall defense in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like in during the season, we're like, there's some trouble there. The secondary looks really bad. Like when they're playing Montreal and they lost, it was like, what's happening? And then come playoff time, it's like lockdown.
Yeah. Well, even back in 2019, that game against Hamilton, he thought this D is going to get chewed up, right?
Yeah.
And then it came out with that game plan. And you're like, holy crap, that was awesome. So
jeez.
He's always ready. He'll have this defense ready, and I think it'll be a huge factor in it. Like you always say, defense wins championships, and I think that's going to be the case here again on Sunday.
Yeah, someone on Facebook on one of the Bomber sites was like, actually, a really good story is Andrew Harris against Adam Bighill, because I think that will be a big story. We haven't heard Adam Bighill's name a lot this year, as much as last year's Defensive Player of the Year campaign. So I think that'll be a good matchup.
That is very true now that you say that. Yeah, he's been steady, but he hasn't been spectacular this year, right?
Yeah.
And there was a lot of times, like even with Kadeem Carey in Calgary, they were running all over the Bombers. Yeah. So you just said it too, we've given up a lot of yards on defense. We've gotten the job done and made the stops when we need to, but the yards have been there. So yeah, that'll be good.
Don't go in the end zone.
That first play where the 2 of them meet up will actually be pretty epic.
That'll be
it's going to be test. Both of them are going to want to win that battle.
Oh, totally. Facing each other during practice, a little light hitting. Now it's a real deal.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't wait for Grey Cup.
Who are you picking to win? Just have to make sure.
Yeah, man. Do I have to say?
You have to say.
Oh, I'm taking Bombers to win.
Yeah,
for sure. There's no way you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's no question. You know what? It's going to be a fun game. It's going to be a good game, but yeah, I still think the Bombers come out on top. And I think O'Shea's coaching as well is going to show up in this game compared to Dinwiddie's. Dinwiddie's still learning on the job. He's getting there. He's got his team to a Grey Cup. I think that veteran presence of O'Shea being in that coaching and his whole coaching staff altogether will come out on top.
Yeah, we'll see what Buck Pierce does.
Yep.
Can't
wait.
A little bit of CFL hot topic here. Bold Levi Mitchell being traded from Calgary to Hamilton. That's kind of like, so what to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's as far as I know, and he's come out and said he's still testing free agency. So Hamilton traded a 3rd and a 5th.
Yeah.
Which could change, I guess, if he signs and stuff like that. So I mean, it's a little bit of a risk to get rid of that. But again, you're getting a chance to negotiate with the guy for the next 3-4 months, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
So good move for Hamilton. I kind of like it. I think his veteran presence with that team would be a good spot for him. Better than, say, Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
But we'll see if they get the job done or not.
Saskatchewan's definitely better off not getting him. If they can repair that relationship with Fajardo's a far better quarterback than Bo Levi Mitchell. Without a doubt, at this point in their careers, for sure.
I don't know Fajardo mentally at this point, if he's still got that, if he can come back and play well, especially in Saskatchewan. Maybe somewhere else, but in Saskatchewan, he had a pretty rough year, and not just himself, the O-line.
The O-line sucked.
Yeah, and I think it got to him mentally because some of his comments later in the year and all this kind of stuff were like, oh boy, buddy, like you have to be a little bit tougher in Saskatchewan. They're going to love you when you're awesome, but they're going to hate you when you're playing terrible, kind of thing. It's one or the other. It's really no middle ground sometimes. And I don't think he could handle that. And I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback or anything. I think he'll do well, but I don't know if he'll do well in Saskatchewan anymore.
He went to the West Final twice in the year, twice in a row, and lost one time because he dunked it off the thing. So he's taken the heat in Saskatchewan already. And I understand him being frustrated because that stupid ass coach who is still there. Because
that's the other thing, right?
It's ridiculous. But man, I have to disagree with you taking Bo over Fajardo. I think Fajardo's a much better quarterback at Bo Levi Mitchell. He's always injured. He had one of the best O-lines in the league this year. He had Kadeem Carey, and he looked like trash. And he had Reggie Begelton and Malik Henry. And he couldn't get it done. So I can't see him doing any better with a worse roster.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. He looked terrible earlier. I think Fajardo would be fine somewhere else, just not in Saskatchewan. Even though he took him to 2 West Finals, he didn't get torn down. It was more like, we're excited for Fajardo. Can't wait till next year. Then this year came and things went straight downhill for him. And it's not only his fault, obviously, coaching O-line for sure. And getting him to go back there with Dickinson there, I don't think that's going to work out very well. I mean, the guy benched him in the most important game of the year.
You also cheer for an organization who pretty much said they're going to trade their quarterback, and they didn't do it. And look what happened there. Am I lying?
No, but
everything's all cool there now.
It's not totally cool. The guy is still
cures everything.
The guy still. And we're talking about Jimmy Garoppolo here. The guy still misses so many plays that I think a better quarterback would get. People crap on, they only scored 22 points with all those weapons. But if he makes a different reads on a couple plays, they're touchdowns. So, but anyways, we digress from that.
That's not what we're saying. We're saying that this guy had tattered relationship with San Francisco, and now he's playing and they're winning. And no relationship is tattered no more. So I think it can be done. If these guys sit in a room and go, hey, fuck, man, why'd you take me out? And they talk it out. They're men. They're professionals. Why not? I think I don't think they missed anything by missing out on Bo Levi. And I hope they don't bid on him in free agency because he'd be a disaster behind that O-line and that coaching staff. Oh,
yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens, even if he even signs with Hamilton or he waits for free agency, because there's a lot of options out there.
Yeah, he's old. Yeah. Like even we talked about him going to Toronto. At least Ricky Ray passed for 4,000 yards and was in the playoffs the year before. He's just, I don't know, bro.
He did look good in relief of Mayer, but you don't know how BC was playing that game afterwards.
In the semifinals?
Yeah. For what he did, he came in and played in a quarter. He put up as many yards as Mayer, but BC's probably playing a bit of a different D at that point and playing more prevent than anything else. So
yeah, I really think he should hang it up, or at least
he's not going
back up.
Yeah, he's not going out like that. There's no way he's going out like getting benched in that. There's no way with that ego. He's not going out like that.
Hey, it's better than going out injured.
Yeah, for sure. But he wants to go out on top.
Pride.
When Edmonton traded Ricky Ray, it was more like, hey, they thought he was done, but
which is
Ricky
stupid.
Ray showed him exactly. We even knew when he traded him, like Ricky Ray's not done, but Edmonton thought maybe he was done and he wasn't going to do anything anymore. But
Edmonton thought Steven Giles was good. Stupid.
Didn't another team think Steven Giles was good too?
Yeah. And look exactly. That's what I'm saying. And he sucked for a long time. Repeat. Yeah. So let's talk about the NHL and our Winnipeg Jets. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm starting to be a little concerned. I know they're looking good in their record. But one of the concerns I had, and I mentioned this last week, was their games lost to injuries, and they're piling up.
Yeah.
Just lost Appleton today?
Yeah, 8 to 12 weeks, wrist surgery.
When does Barron come back?
I'm not sure, but he's still in the IR. Yeah, he's still off a bit.
Yeah, these games are piling up.
Ehlers started skating today, so he'll see how he feels tomorrow before he can ramp it up. So hopefully that works out and he's back soon.
Soonish, maybe. No, I don't see him back within the week.
No, it probably like it. Not on this homestead or anything. Maybe sometime next week if all went well today, like today to tomorrow kind of thing. So
yeah.
But yeah, like we always talk about, the Jets are pretty thin up front, especially in the top 6. So once you start losing guys, it's tough to replace them. unless you try bringing in Lambert or something like that. But other than that, I can't even name some guys off the Moose. Hey,
Harkins is going to be here for an extended stay, and they're talking about this Mikey Isamok guy who has 9 points in 9 games, who might get a look. They're going to try internally, is the belief out there so far.
The only thing is now you went from Appleton, who wasn't the greatest, going up to the top line, and now you're bringing in Sam Gagner to play in that top line minutes. So,
yeah,
hopefully Ehlers is back sooner than later, but that'll be interesting to see how he can be up there and handle the minutes and play with Scheifele and Connor.
Yeah. I just hope these injuries are out of the way now, because if these keep piling up, they don't have a large enough roster, deep enough roster to keep playing at the pace that they're playing. Or maybe they do. Maybe it is about style, because it seems like this team is buying into Rick Bowness.
Well, this is the one thing about Dallas, right? The Dallas, besides Seguin and Ben and Robertson, like they had some good players, like good top 6. But a lot of the other guys were kind of no-name guys, right? And they got it all together. And even with injuries, they'd bring in guys and the system wouldn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's what it's going to be here. But the only thing is you're relying on those guys, Scheifele, Connor, Wheeler, Dubois, and Perfetti to score, right? Because it gets pretty thin after that. So as long as those guys are chipping in enough goals, then maybe you can make this work and your goaltending and defense plays well. So it'll be interesting to see.
I've always wondered, does the AHL team, their affiliate, do they play the same system as the big team?
I would hope so. I always thought that the Jets, like with Maurice and who was doing it before there, Pascal Vincent. Yeah, I thought they were kind of playing the same system, which you would hope they would kind of do in a way, right? So that they come in and don't miss a beat. So you would think so.
That. Yeah, I'd hope so. We'll see. We'll see. Brad Lambert might come if they keep if these injuries keep happening at this pace. Is he in Finland?
Yeah. Hey,
is he in Finland or is he in Manitoba?
No, he's with the Moose.
Excellent.
I don't know how he's doing there or anything like that, but it'd be interesting to see, like, especially on that top line. If Gagner's not working out, another guy can't fill in. Do you slap Lambert on there, see what he can do for a couple games? I don't know.
I think at that point you probably want to push Wheeler up and take the chance of breaking up that second line for a couple games until Ehlers comes back at least.
Yeah, well, hopefully Ehlers is back next week. You got this homestand coming up here. I don't think he'll be there for that. Yeah. But hopefully he responds properly in the next little bit.
We can hope. So let's look at this homestead that you talk about. We have the Ducks, the Penguins, and the Hurricanes. Are you worried about the Ducks?
No.
Oh, they look
the Jets should not be worried either. The Ducks are 5-10-1. Almost kind of in a rebuild, but not really there yet. They still got Gibson there. I feel bad for the guy. But this should be the easiest one of the 3.
Yeah, they're running in first place for that Connor Bedard sweepstakes, eh?
Yeah.
Them in Montreal. My goodness gracious. And then they have Pittsburgh, who's also not very good. They've lost 9 out of the last 11 after starting 4-0-1 this season. Yeah. Expectations got to be lowered for this team.
Yeah, 2-6-2 in their last 10. And they've given up 57 goals, which is one of the highest in the league. 57 of the last 10? No, not in the last 10 total so far this season.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no.
Still almost. Whatever.
But to me, you look at the Penguins roster, it's an older team. They traded a lot of first round picks and early picks to try and win cups in the last 5-10 years, right?
Yeah.
So that's all caught up. You got Malkin and Crosby, who are still having fine seasons, but they can only do so much to carry this team. And the goaltending also hasn't been great. So, but talking about Crosby and Malkin, they're still dangerous. They can still put in the goals. So the Jets do have to be careful and not take this lightly that Pittsburgh hasn't played well so far in the last 10, 15 games.
Yeah. And then they finish it off with Carolina. You talk about goaltending. They have, hold on a sec, Pyotr Kochetkov. Who the F is this guy? Played a couple playoff games last year, and now he's getting a shutout in Chicago. And Carolina's, what did I say, 5 games above 500?
Yeah. Yeah, they're Anderson's hurt. Frederick Anderson's hurt, right? So this guy's coming in and playing well. I forgot they had Brent Burns too. So
that's right.
Yeah, and Paul Stastny.
That's right. I remember that.
But he only 4 assists so far in 15 games, so not the greatest start for him. But Carolina's got a lot of firepower and some good D. So
yeah, this will be a tough one. Although it's at home. How do you see them going? I see them going 3-0. I'm going to take 3-0 on this one.
I see them losing to the Canes. I see them winning their first two, so at least 2-1. You know, if they anything less than 2-1 in this homestand, I'd be pretty disappointed with, actually.
If they get another injury in those first two games, though, I'm going to take that win back and give it to Carolina.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Injuries.
If things stay the way they are, for sure, yeah, 2-1. Carolina will be a tough game. It's at the end of the homestead kind of thing. So, and they're a good team. You know, power play's got to get it going. They had lots of chances against Seattle. I know they potted 2, but it wasn't great. They've given up 2 shorties in the last 2 games. So stop doing that.
Maybe they should put Rittich in for Carolina. Hey, is Lauren Broswell still on waivers? My goodness.
He passed. So he hit the AHL for sure. There's no back-to-back here, right?
It's when Thursday, Saturday. Monday.
Yeah, so no back-to-back. I could see Hellebuck playing all 3.
Why not?
Hey, did you know the Jets penalty kill is actually number 5 in the league right now?
That's pretty good.
That is crazy to me considering the penalty kill that we watched over the last few seasons.
That's pretty good. And they're also staying out of the penalty box.
Yes, that too.
So it's, oh man. Rick Bonus. Yeah. Props to Rick Bonus.
Yeah, for sure.
Buying in yet?
Not yet.
Wow. Let's talk about this dude punching doobies in the head. What a bum. I'm not even going to say his name. You can say his name if you want. I'm going to say his name. He should have served games.
Yes. I'll say his name just so everyone is aware. I'm sure you are. Carson Soucy. $2,500 fine for punching a guy in the back of the head. They had their battle going on, whatever. There's cross checks. There's all kinds of play. But once you get a guy and his back is turned to you and you do anything to him with his back turned to you, to me, that should be automatic game suspensions, man. You know, even if it was just one, it should have been at least, you know, probably more than that. But to find him the lowest of the low, it's terrible. And it's another bad look on the league.
Exactly. It's like, how is that even? He punched the guy. The guy was defenseless. Like, what happens if you knock this guy out? Like, that's a long fall for his head to hit the ice.
Yeah.
And no considering when you wear a helmet or not.
Yeah. And what you went through with the whole Bertuzzi thing back, years ago, right? It's like, be aware of this stuff. Like, you shouldn't even be allowing this stuff to happen. And you get $2,500 fine. What's going to stop him from doing it another time? Yeah.
No matter what, it should be no matter what your previous offenses were, you're serving at least a game for this.
Yeah, for sure.
If not more.
Yeah.
Punching a guy in the head from behind. What the?
Yeah. And a game, I would have been, okay, well, probably not enough, but at least it was a game, but $2,500 fine. Come on.
No. Like, maybe not get suspended if someone came on the ass and beat his ass, but that didn't happen. So he should sit a game. Like, what a joke. Ugh.
The league will never figure this out with anything, and there'll never be any consistency in any of it. It's disappointing. Like, after all this time,
disciplinarian.
Is it still Perilous?
What? That makes no sense.
Isn't it still Perilous?
This makes no sense. This guy who made his career out of garbage. That makes no sense.
Yeah, exactly. Not at all, man.
You going to choose a criminal to be a judge?
Maybe bringing a guy that that took a lot of hits and brought on a lot of suspension because he took some terrible hits from terrible players. I don't know.
That's such a dumb move.
That's the NHL, man.
Yeah, I know. We watch it. Let's talk about the NFL. Let's start off with the Power 5. We're going to go from 5 to 1. Who do you got at 5?
I got the Ravens. They had a bye last week, but they're sitting 6-3. They were looking pretty good before the bye, so I'm slapping them at number 5.
Now they're also the Baltimore Ravens at number 5. Run the ball. They do it better than anyone. Who do you have at 4?
The Dolphins have made it back into the top 5. I got them at number 4. Pretty impressive on offense lately. Their defense needs some work. It hasn't been great, but they've been looking good on offense.
Man, the last power rankings we did, I think we were pick for pick. So let's see if this is any different, but not here. I got Miami at number 4. Tua for MVP. Yeah, maybe.
Pretty solid season so far.
400 yards. It's 35 points. Maybe.
Yeah.
And number 3, I got the Minnesota Vikings. Man, they're having fun in Mini, and they look like a top 3 team. This Kevin O'Connell, he's bringing that Sean McVay swag into Minnesota, and you can see that they're having fun.
Yeah, I got them at number 3 as well. To me, I mean, they beat the Bills. But the Bills and the Dolphins really, and the Dolphins was a third string QB. That's the only teams they've beaten, or the only teams over 500 that they've beaten. I mean, you play whatever schedule you got, right? You lost to the Eagles. You look terrible in that one. So to me, I want to see them more play these games against tougher teams. The playoffs are going to be a rude awakening when you're now playing good teams. But yeah, they've been exciting. They've played well. Big win in Buffalo too. So props to them.
17. Down by 17. Wow. I got the Philadelphia Eagles at number 2. Surprising loss this week against Washington Football Commanders team.
Yes.
But you're not going to win when you only have the ball for 20 minutes and the other team has 30 something more plays than you do. Sorry, that's not going to happen in the NFL no matter who you play.
Yeah, the Commanders came out with a great game plan actually to shut down the Eagles. I have the Eagles also at number 2. Yeah. Again, not the toughest of schedule so far. You play who you got, but they did not look good on Monday. And maybe they're starting to build up their own hype and thinking, hey, this is going to be easy. We're going to get through this all. So maybe it's a good thing for them to lose like this. And it'll get them back at the drawing table to figure it out and how to get back on top again.
Good wake-up call.
Yeah.
Number 1, who do you got?
Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep.
Number 1, again, another impressive game. They actually had a running game going, so looking good.
Yeah, I got the Chefs as well. Kadarius Toney was looking good. And over 150 yards. Do you see that hit on Juju?
Yes, that was terrible.
Damn.
Poor guy. Like, he's taken a couple hellacious hits like that over the last couple of years. But
yeah, that's like karma for the one that he gave on Vontaze Perfect.
Yeah,
he's hitting them.
He took one back. Didn't he take one last year or the year before with Pittsburgh too? Pretty bad one.
I don't know who was it against. I can't.
It was around after the TikTok video or him dancing on someone's logo in center field or something like that. So
clown.
Yeah. But that was a terrible hit.
We were talking about quarterbacks. No, we're talking about Washington quarterback. Let's go into some hot topics. Carson Wentz, when he gets healthy, do you go back to him?
No. Heineke's led wins. He's beat the Packers, Colts, and now the Eagles. A couple weaker teams there, but he's gotten it done where Wentz wasn't getting it done.
Yeah.
And he lost a close one to the Vikes. They only lost by 3 points. I think he's better at playing the system that Rivera wants to play with limiting mistakes, whereas Wentz is just chucking out picks. Heineke's obviously going to make mistakes throughout the game too and throw an interception, but I think he's the better of the QBs to play that system and make less mistakes.
You absolutely don't go back. Heineke's better for the team. The other players play better around him. I remember you can go back into the episodes 7 months ago or 8 months ago when they got Wentz. I was like, why don't they just go with Heinicke? He was actually winning. See? Told you, Washington. Told you. Wentz is no good.
Heinicke actually makes the receivers better. McLaurin was basically like distant memory almost with Wentz. Like he just wasn't involved, and Heinicke gets him involved. You get your best playmakers involved.
I think Wentz is done now. He'll be a backup somewhere for a few years, unless he's like a team coached by maybe Bruce Arians or someone like that, or under a genius like Mike McDaniel. He's screwed. He's not good.
He was good with the Eagles under Frank Reich. Frank Reich had him in Indy and couldn't get him back to that level. So I don't think he's ever getting back there.
No, that whole team played well around him. No. They played well around Nick Foles.
Yeah.
So. Speaking of QBs, how about your boy Justin Fields?
Yeah, I got to give him props. He's actually not necessarily throwing the ball the greatest, but he is the combination of his running and throwing has gotten way better than what he was earlier this season.
Yeah, they're actually using his skill set properly. Ridiculous. You know who's got to go? Josh McDaniels has to go. He has to go. Why is he still there?
I just saw something today actually about that they can't afford to fire him because they just don't have enough money on that team to carry another contract.
So even next year they can't fire him.
You're probably stuck with him. Not you personally, but the team is probably stuck with him for at least 2 years.
Oh man, I was like, next year he's going to be offensive coordinator in New England again.
Who was their coach last year that they fired? Oh, I guess
Biaggia, remember?
Biaggia, but it was also Gruden. Like, are they still paying Gruden's crazy contract?
That's right. That's true. Oh no, but wasn't he fired for a cause or whatever? And that's it. His contract is void, and he's taking the NFL to court due to that or partially due to that?
Yeah, I don't know for sure, but yeah, so they might still be paying that contract.
But we talked about this months ago as well. The Raiders were playing great under this what's his name again?
I don't know.
Bianchi. Bianchia.
Richard.
Bianchia. Yeah. And this was after they went through all the DUI with someone getting killed and all the team problems. He actually elevated the team and they came together as a team and they were winning and they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
See, Josh McDaniel, he will never be a head coach again, man.
No, he'll probably end up going back to New England after these couple of years are up and start running that offense again and stay there. And maybe he'll end up taking over New England or something at some point. But
yeah,
I mean, the team got better from last year. You would think with Devontae Adams in there, you think that offense should be humming. And you lose to the Colts, Jeff Saturday. Jeff Saturday's first game as a coach, as a professional coach, and he beats you. With
a limited playbook.
Yes.
The Raiders. So hopeful. You got any shout outs?
You know what? I'm going to give a shout out to Teppo Newman and Teemu Selanne, who are being raised to the rafters in the Jets Hall of Fame, I guess tomorrow night against the Ducks.
Yeah.
So great feat for them. I mean, they were always two great players to watch. He seems like he was here forever. I know Selanne was here for a short time, but Teppo was always that steady guy on D that you could rely on to play D, right? He wouldn't put up the points, but he would be solid on D. And of course, Teemu Selanne, man, fantastic player, 76 goals in his rookie season. So shout out to them.
So when their numbers go to the rafters, are they retired as well?
No, not retired. They're just entering the Jets Hall of Fame kind of thing.
So does Selanne get 13 and 8?
Oh, I don't know what numbers went up there. Actually, that's interesting.
Interesting.
I guess we'll find out. Maybe they haven't said anything.
I don't think they have.
Maybe they'll do both.
Maybe they'll do both.
Maybe.
I'm so excited. I can't wait for Grey Cup. Coming up this Sunday. Keep your voices warm. I can't wait to do the cowbell. I'm going to use a cowbell wherever I am. Yeah, inside. You know how loud that thing was. That was
fun. No, that thing was loud.
That was great. Benny, you got anything to say to our friends?
You know what? Thanks a lot for listening. Don't forget to follow, subscribe. The rest of you, get on there. Let us know what you think, and go Bombers, go!
And to steal the famous words of Ed Whalen, in the meantime and in between time, that's it. Another edition of Ray and Benny Talk Sports. You know what I started watching? This FIFA Uncovered documentary on Netflix. It doesn't want to make me watch a World Cup at all. It doesn't. It's just all this we knew there was bribery, but for Qatar, are you interested in this Qatar World Cup really?
I'm really only because Canada's in it. I wish it was in a different place altogether for Canada's return, after all this time. But yeah, even going back to 2018 with it being in Russia, a lot of money is exchanged hands to get votes and pass along votes. And I'll have to check this thing out on Netflix, but like you say, I'm afraid to learn more because I already know how bad it was and how corrupt these guys were.
Yeah, wait till after the World Cup. You want to watch it. It's horrible.
Hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to check us out online on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Ray Benny Sports. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell us what you think.